The Genius Society. The brilliant minds of Honkai Star Rail that have the privilege of having best in the gaze of the Erudition. A very unique and eccentric group of individuals who casually bend the rules of reality with their actions and are quite possibly the most dangerous faction in the universe. But what makes them so dangerous isn't the fact that they are unified, because they famously aren't, or even generous with their creations, because they really aren't. But what happens if they are? What happens when a genius decides to collaborate with one of the most unstable factions in the entire cosmos? Because the geniuses are already a threat in themselves. I mean, one created an Aeon, one was responsible for half the reason why the Aeon of Destruction ascended, and another one is Ruanmei. And she, along with a certain laughing general, are who I intend on talking about today. Because with the appearance of Yaoguang prompts the beginning of the Lord Ravager Jingliu timeline. And even though that timeline is avoided, the threat of what the Xianzhou is doing right now very much isn't. And I, for one, think that Hoyo is foreshadowing our next crisis. Because I am seeing the signs and I am following the trail of breadcrumbs, and they have led me to a terrifying conclusion. So without further ado, this is the unresolved Exotale ending revealed. But first, I am well aware that Plan Arcadia is supposed to be the next world, but I also believe that there will be heavy Xianzhou involvement. And for the reason that we know next to nothing about this next world, besides the fact that it loves to look like Belobog for some reason, I am going to be talking about the Xianzhou's many issues that we will be facing in the near future. Good? Good. Join the Discord, link in description, onto the video. Okay. So before we get into Yaoguang, let's begin with an old friend. Because recently I've been thinking about this character and I forgot just how utterly terrifying she is. Sure, I know how I made a whole video on her about how she nearly ended Honkai Star Rail by resurrecting Scaricabaz and thereby the Swarm disaster, but to quote my past self, it gets worse. Ruanmei is a ticking time bomb of a character. Let me explain. You see, when I first started looking into this character, I simply thought that she was of similar age to Herta, since, you know, they are friends. But then I remembered that Herta de-aged, so I thought to myself, oh, so she must be younger than Herta. But no, she can't be, because she is Genius Society number 81 to Herta's 83. She is Herta's senior
Society member.
So she has to be older. In fact, considering that there is a spot between her and Herta, she could have been a genius before Herta was even born. Especially because Herta joined the society in her childhood. So then I started to wonder, how is she so old? And this led me to a terrifying discovery that I'm sure a lot of you forgot. Ruanmei is a long life species. Yes, in her story, we learn that her planet was blessed by the abundance. So odds are she and the Foxians share some biological similarities, since Verdantia was also blessed by Yaoguang. That Aeon gets around. So not only does it make sense that her friends are quite literally an immortal robot and a woman who can de-age herself indefinitely, but it also makes sense that biology is her field of expertise. Giving life to things is Ruanmei's specialty, and judging by the fact that she has abundance power literally running through her veins, her feats now make a lot more sense because Ruanmei has a habit of bringing people back from the dead. She started with her own parents, then went on to a genius who was killed by Pogakakamon, and finally her latest was Ting Yun, who was destroyed so badly that not even her spirit was left intact. And I would say that she's playing God, but to her it's more like practice. Because remember, her end goal is to become an Aeon.
If life is cultivated and reproduced, you can dissect remembrance, control equilibrium, deconstruct beauty, and reproduce permanence. I will understand life and touch on these conceptions. And perhaps I, too, can become an Aeon.
And it is shocking to me that we just thought, oh, Ruanmei is a genius, so she just resurrected Ting Yun because she's smart. No, it's because she can use abundance power. Why didn't we think of that until now? So if you are wondering why she is able to do this, yes, it is because she is a master of all things biology, but it is also because of her connection to the abundance. To think that she hasn't studied herself and gained an understanding of how Abundance's life-giving abilities work would be a disservice to Ruanmei, the reclusive genius known for living by herself in her own little corner of the cosmos. I mean, even Xianzhou natives know how their own bodies work on a cellular level. And speaking of the Xianzhou, it just so happens that Ruanmei, a long-life species, is currently collaborating with the Xianzhou in their campaign against Yaoguang. Isn't she just perfect for that role? A little bit too perfect, if you ask me. Because as we know, geniuses tend to master more than one path. Herta is adept with remembrance power, as we've seen with the Memo Snatcher incident. Lygus had so much power over destruction that he piloted a Lord Ravager, and we all know that Pokakakamon is the leader of Device IX. So I think it's clear that Ruanmei has control over abundance power. But if that's not enough, she also cracked open the secrets of the propagation as well. So much so that she brought an emanator of propagation to life just to study it, and then had it die before it could replicate. So to put things into perspective, she is a genius of erudition who was born in abundance, mastered propagation, and is now working with Hunt followers who just got a hold of the Destruction's golden blood. Golden blood that was specifically used to prolong life. There are no coincidences in this story, and something is going down with Ruanmei at the head of it. And judging by the bad ending we narrowly avoided with Lord Ravager Jingliu, we are in for a wild ride. But just in case you think that is where the trail runs dry, you underestimate me, because allow me to introduce Yaoguang, the seer strategist general of the Xianzhou Yutre, who we briefly heard from right before Ruanmei was revealed to have saved Ting Yun, possessing a mind so sharp that she is said to be equal to Jing Yuan.
When it comes to strategic brilliance and decisive outcomes, I wonder who would win, Jing Yuan or Yaoguang?
So, the divine foresight, the seer strategist, and a borderline sociopathic near immortal genius walk into a bar. A bar run by a sword champion so mentally unstable that she put herself in jail, and a guy running around with part of Taziron in a coffin who looks just like Auto Apocalypse. And that would be a joke if it wasn't the situation that we currently find ourselves in. But you know what the real joke is? The Yutre Yaoguang ship is the single Xianzhou flagship that in the past partially turned to follow the Erudition. They called themselves the Wisdom Sect, and they still exist now, but there aren't many of them. Why? Because the Divination Commission decided to double dip in paths. The design of the Jade Abacus and the Matrix of Prescience are both based off of Noose. And the reason why the Xianzhou knew about Iron Tomb was because of Jingliu using a Jade Abacus on the Yutre.
A war of gods has already begun in the Abacus's calculated future.
So what I mean to say is this: get ready for some Xianzhou chaos. Just because Lord Ravager Jingliu didn't happen doesn't mean they won't try. That is what happens when they are left unattended. Never let the followers of the Aeon of Friendly Fire unattended. These guys are on their way to starting an Aeon War, and they are way closer than you think they are. Hunt, destruction, propagation, erudition, and abundance sounds like a recipe for disaster. And we know for a fact, from experience, that large amounts of different kinds of path energies being used tends to draw the gazes of Aeons. And when that happens, you would need to see the future to know what is going to happen next. So back to Yaoguang. Because what I love about this game is that everyone has their in-game path for a reason. And the reason why Yaoguang is Elation instead of Erudition or Hunt is because of how she lives her life. And yes, that is a more subtle version of the intro to the in-game paths theory, but we gotta talk about it again. You know we gotta talk about it again. Because every character in Honkai Star Rail has two paths, a lore path and an in-game one, where the lore path represents their faction affiliation and the in-game one represents a major aspect of their life. Now, we don't know much about her, but just from this one description, we can get everything we need. She says, "I could have divined the finer details of this encounter, but where's the fun in that? Being here in person has turned up some rather pleasant surprises." Now, Let me explain why this is so elation coded, because I love this. She knows full well, just like Fu Xuan does, that fate cannot be defied and that it is pointless to fight against it. So what does she do? She doesn't read it. She does not allow her abilities to drive her to depression, and she enjoys the spontaneity of life, laughing in the face of inevitable fate. The same way Aha laughs at the void. Because she could just easily see what her life will amount to and even see her own death. But if she did that, that could leave her spiraling into a nihilistic mindset, wondering if her actions really matter or not. And at that point, she kind of just becomes Kafka, who just happens to be a nihility character. But she either did that or doesn't care, or hasn't and won't, because she doesn't care. So in that way, her life mirrors the elation. It seems that the diviners of the Xianzhou tend to have their own point of view on how they use their ability to see the future. Like how Fu Xuan is preservation because she wants to protect her ship by navigating away from foreseen dangers. Fun little detail here is that Yaoguang actually tried to recruit Fu Xuan to the Yuchue, but of course she wants to be the next general, so she's biding her time. And one more really important thing here. The Yuchue is home to the Earth-style Vidyadhara. So needless to say, we are going back to the Xianzhou, and Hoyo is making it abundantly clear. Danheng becomes the only Vidyadhara we've seen to use multiple elements, with the new one being Earth, and now the Xianzhou flagship with the High Elder who uses Earth powers comes into relevance? Things are really falling into place here, and the final puzzle piece is Yaoguang. So I think we are seeing the complete picture now. We are not done with the Lord Ravager propagation Jingliu timeline, and I think these followers of the Aeon of Friendly Fire have something devious planned for Yaoshi, Yaoguang, and Ruanmei. In the worst possible and most dangerous future I can think of, Ruanmei might try to help kill Yaoshi and ascend as an Aeon herself in their place, or worse, she may even try to ascend into an Aeon and then assimilate Yaoshi into herself. That is a terrifying future because, again, Ruanmei would become some type of life-giving and life-sustaining focused Aeon, and she likes to continue creating more life as she cares for the rest. So if she ascends into an Aeon, she would be some type of fusion of propagation and abundance, and then aim to make the universe her little scientific nursery. And don't think I'm just up here yapping, because she's already tried. Yeah, I have support for this theory, because if you look at the description of the Curio A Ruan pouch, it states that she wants to carry the universe in her pocket. And this pouch is an ever-expanding pocket dimension that she had to seal closed because it never stopped expanding. Meaning that if she had the means of pulling the entire universe into her pouch, she would have succeeded. This woman is scary and really has a god complex. And as long as she is involved with the Xianzhou, we need to be on our guard and constantly vigilant. Because this is the unresolved Exotale ending revealed. We are in danger. We left the Hunt followers alone for far too long, and I fear that they just rolled out the red carpet for the genius that fits their cause like a glove. A long-life species who knows how the abundance works and is willing to help them kill it, who may also want Yaoshi dead herself. She's most likely considered a hero already due to saving Ting Yun, but let's say she doesn't have any intentions of working with the Xianzhou more. She's just gotten her hands on a fragment of Teiziranth. Let's not forget that this woman wants to become an Aeon already. This is bad. And Yaoguang entering the story means we are returning to the Xianzhou. So you guys better strap in, because paths are about to intertwine once again and Aeons are going to be active. But what do you guys think? Be sure to let me know, and I'll see you all in the next video. Peace, y'all.